The massive alien ship appeared without warning, materializing just beyond Earth's moon. Its sleek, silver hull stretched nearly 2 miles long, dwarfing humanity's largest space stations. Military bases worldwide went into high alert, but the vessel made no aggressive moves. Admiral James Walker stood in the Pentagon's command center, his weathered face illuminated by dozens of screens showing the alien ship from various angles. Something about this didn't feel right to him. After 30 years in the military, he had learned to trust his instincts. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," announced Lieutenant Rogers, her fingers flying across the control panel. "They're requesting to speak with Earth's leaders." The world's governments scrambled to organize a response. Within hours, a joint committee of military and civilian leaders gathered at the United Nations headquarters in New York. Admiral Walker was among them, representing the global defense force. The alien transmission showed a tall, humanoid figure with silvery skin and elegant robes. It called itself the Ambassador of the Galactic Council. "We come in peace," the ambassador said, its voice smooth and cultured. "We represent a coalition of 500 spacefaring civilizations. We have watched your species develop and believe you are ready to join our community." Most of the human representatives were excited by the prospect. Walker noticed how the aliens' words were perfectly calculated to appeal to human desires. Acceptance, advancement, and peace. Too perfect. The council requested a face-to-face meeting. Despite Walker's objections, the UN agreed. The meeting was scheduled for the next day in a neutral location, the International Space Station. Walker insisted on being part of the delegation. As their shuttle approached the station, he studied the 2 alien ships that had detached from the main vessel. They looked more like warships than diplomatic craft. The ambassador met them in the station's main module, accompanied by 4 other aliens of different species. Their discussion started pleasantly enough, with talks of cultural exchange and technological sharing. Then the ambassador's tone changed. "While we admire your species' potential," it said, "we have concerns about your aggressive tendencies. The Council has decided that Earth requires guidance." Walker's hand instinctively moved closer to his concealed sidearm. "What kind of guidance?" The ambassador's friendly facade vanished. "Your planet will submit to Council authority. We will install a governing body to oversee your development and ensure you don't become a threat to galactic peace." "And if we refuse?" Walker asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then we will be forced to take more decisive action. We have the power to end your civilization with a single command." The other human delegates were shocked into silence, but Walker had been expecting something like this. "How long do we have to decide?" 30 of your Earth days," the ambassador replied. "Choose wisely." The return journey to Earth was tense. The UN fell into chaos as news of the ultimatum spread. Many argued for immediate surrender, fearing extinction. Others called for resistance, regardless of the consequences. But Walker knew something the aliens didn't. He immediately contacted a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Dr. Roberts, it's time. Activate Project Phoenix. All of it." "Are you sure, Admiral?" Dr. Roberts asked. "We haven't tested everything yet." "We're out of time," Walker replied. "They gave us 30 days. We'll use that time to prepare." He ended the call and looked out his office window at the night sky. The alien ship was visible as a bright point of light, like an evil star threatening Earth's future. Little did the Council know, humanity had discovered a crashed alien scout ship in Antarctica 15 years ago. They had spent those years reverse engineering its technology and preparing for this exact scenario. Underground bases around the world housed experimental weapons and ships that combined alien tech with human innovation. Walker smiled grimly. The Council thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would either submit or be crushed. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for war among the stars for over a decade. The next 30 days would change everything. But not in the way the Council expected. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. The question was whether the Galactic Council would survive humanity's response. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Emma Roberts walked through a massive underground hangar. The ceiling stretched hundreds of feet high, housing rows of experimental spacecraft that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. Each ship looked deadly and efficient, nothing like the sleek, smooth vessels of the Galactic Council. Status report. She called out to her team of engineers who were working around the clock. The plasma cannons are now stable at 95% power, replied Dr. Tom Miller, wiping sweat from his forehead. And the shield generators are performing better than expected. For 15 years, they had worked in absolute secrecy. When the alien scout ship crashed in Antarctica, world leaders made a crucial decision. Instead of announcing the discovery, they would prepare in silence. Now, that decision was about to pay off. Admiral Walker arrived at the facility, his presence making the already busy workers move even faster. Dr. Roberts, show me what we've got. She led him to a massive holographic display at the center of the command room. Project Phoenix has 3 main components, she explained, bringing up detailed images. First, our fleet of hybrid warships. We've built 50 of them, each carrying weapons that combine our nuclear technology with their plasma systems. Walker nodded, studying the specifications and the other components. Second, our defense network. We've stationed cloaked satellites throughout the solar system. They can generate an energy field that will trap any council ships that try to enter or leave. The display showed hundreds of tiny dots representing the hidden satellites. The council's arrogance had worked in Earth's favor. They hadn't bothered to scan thoroughly for human defenses, assuming Earth was too primitive to have any. And the third component? Walker asked. Dr. Roberts smiled grimly. That's the best part. Remember how their ships use quantum communication to coordinate their fleet? Well, we found a way to hack it. When the time comes, we can shut down their entire communication network. In another part of the facility, test pilots were running combat simulations. Earth's ships were smaller than the Council's, but far more maneuverable. They had studied the alien ship's design and found its weak points. Human pilots, with their experience in aerial combat, would have a significant advantage over the Council's automated systems. How many bases like this do we have? Walker asked, watching the pilots train. 7, Roberts replied. Hidden under mountains and deserts on every continent. The Council thinks they're dealing with a planet that barely has space travel. They have no idea we've built an entire war machine right under their noses. Walker's communicator buzzed. The Council's ships had started positioning themselves around Earth, preparing for what they assumed would be either a surrender or a quick conquest. Time's running out, he said. Are we ready? Roberts brought up another display, showing the status of their forces worldwide. All ships are armed and crewed. Defense networks are online but hidden. Quantum hackers are standing by. She paused. Sir, even with all this, we're still outnumbered. The Council has been conquering worlds for centuries. Yes, Walker agreed, but they've gotten lazy. They rely too much on their advanced technology and haven't fought a real war in generations. We've been fighting ourselves and innovating our weapons for our entire history. He walked to a window overlooking the hangar, watching as crews made final preparations on the warships. Each one represented humanity's determination to remain free, combining the best of human and alien technology into something entirely new. The Council thinks they're dealing with primitives, Walker continued. They expect us to either give up or fight with crude rockets and nuclear weapons. The look on their faces when our fleet decloaks will be priceless. Roberts checked her watch. 26 hours until their deadline expires. Walker's expression hardened. Good. Inform all bases. As soon as they make their move, we make ours. Humanity didn't come this far to bow down to alien oppressors. In hangars around the world, pilots climbed into their ships and ran final checks. Engineers monitored power levels and weapon systems. Special forces teams prepared for boarding actions. The Council had given Earth 30 days to surrender. Instead, they had given humanity 30 days to prepare for war. The Council's deadline expired at exactly noon GMT. Their massive ships moved into attack positions around Earth, weapons charged and ready. The ambassador's voice boomed across all communication channels. Your time has ended. Submit or face extinction. Commander Michael Stone sat in the cockpit of his hybrid warship, hidden deep within the Rocky Mountain base. His hands were steady on the controls as he waited for the signal. Around him, 49 other ships hummed with power, their crews ready for humanity's first interstellar battle. All ships, this is Admiral Walker. The command channel crackled to life. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Show these bullies what happens when they threaten Earth. Stone grinned. Phoenix Squadron. Launch. The mountain's peak split open, revealing a massive launch tunnel. Stone's ship led the attack, rocketing upward with technology that would have seemed impossible just 15 years ago. Behind him, the rest of the squadron emerged like angry wasps from a hidden nest. The Council ships didn't react at first. Their sensors, designed to detect known alien technology, struggled to identify the approaching Earth vessels. By the time they realized they were under attack, Stone's squadron was already in firing range. Target their command and control systems, Stone ordered. Just like in the simulations, Earth's hybrid weapons unleashed hell. Plasma-enhanced missiles struck with pinpoint accuracy, guided by both human tactics and alien technology. The Council's shields, calibrated to stop pure energy weapons, couldn't handle the combination of physical and energy attacks. The first Council ship exploded in a spectacular ball of fire. The others scrambled to respond, but Earth had more surprises waiting. Hidden satellites activated, creating an energy net that trapped the alien vessels in place. They can't escape. Dr. Roberts' voice came over the comm. Quantum disruption field activated. Their communications are down. The Council ships, cut off from their command and unable to coordinate, fell into chaos. Their automated defense systems, designed for large-scale fleet battles, struggled against Earth's more agile vessels and unpredictable attack patterns. Stone barrel rolled his ship through enemy fire, leading his squadron in attack patterns that no alien computer could predict. Human pilots, with their instincts and creativity, proved superior to the Council's automated systems. Multiple Council ships disabled, reported his tactical officer. Their weapons are offline. But the Council still had numbers on their side. More ships emerged from hyperspace, responding to the last distress calls that got through before Earth cut their communications. Walker's voice came over the command channel again. Phase 2, initiate. All bases, launch your squadrons. Across the planet, hidden bases activated. From the Himalayas, the Andes, the Sahara, and other secret locations, Earth's defenders rose to join the battle. The Council commanders watched in horror as hundreds of advanced warships seemed to appear from nowhere. Impossible. The ambassador's transmission cut through the chaos. Your species couldn't have this technology. Stone lined up another shot, taking out the ambassador's flagship's main weapon. Surprise! We've been preparing for this day for 15 years. The battle raged across Earth's orbit. Council ships, designed for overwhelming force against primitive opponents, found themselves outmaneuvered and outsmarted. Earth's smaller ships darted between their massive vessels, striking critical systems with surgical precision. Within hours, the mighty Council fleet was in ruins. Dozens of their ships floated dead in space, disabled by Earth's weapons. Others had surrendered, their crews realizing they had severely underestimated humanity's capabilities. Stone landed his damaged but victorious ship back at base. As he climbed out of the cockpit, cheers erupted from the ground crew. They had won their first battle against the galaxy's greatest power. Admiral Walker met him on the landing pad. Well done, Commander. But this is just the beginning. The Council will send everything they have once they learn what happened here. Stone nodded, watching as recovery teams began repairing their ships. Let them come. We've shown them that humanity won't bow down to threats. We'll fight until we're free. The news of Earth's victory spread quickly across the planet. Humanity had faced its first test against galactic powers and emerged triumphant. But everyone knew the real war was just beginning. The Council had started this fight, expecting an easy conquest. They were about to learn just how fierce humanity could be when fighting for survival. Dr. Thomas Reed stared at his computer screen in amazement. After hacking into the Council's quantum communication network, his team had discovered something unexpected. "Admiral Walker," he called out, "you need to see this." The Admiral hurried over to Reed's station in the underground command center. The screen showed hundreds of encrypted messages between Council member species. Not everyone in the Council supported the attack on Earth, Reed explained. "Look at these communications. At least a dozen species argued against it. They were overruled by the dominant species." Walker leaned closer, studying the messages. "Can you contact these dissenting species?" "Already working on it," Reed replied. "We've identified several potential allies, species that have been oppressed by the Council for centuries." In orbit above Earth, the captured Council ships provided valuable intelligence. Many of the alien crews, especially those from smaller species, seemed almost relieved to be prisoners. One of the captured ship captains, a blue-skinned alien named Vex, requested to speak with Earth's leaders. "My people have suffered under Council rule for 300 years, he explained. "We are forced to provide resources and soldiers, but have no real power." Walker listened carefully. "How many others feel the same way?" "Many," Vex replied. "The Council presents itself as a coalition of equals, but 5 species control everything. The rest of us are practically slaves." This information changed everything. Earth had expected to fight alone against a unified enemy. Instead, they had discovered cracks in the Council's foundation. Dr. Reed worked day and night, using the captured communication systems to contact other oppressed species. The response was overwhelming. Decades of resentment against the Council's rule had created a powder keg. Earth's successful resistance was the spark that could ignite it. "We've received messages from 18 different species," Reed reported during a strategy meeting. "They're willing to share intelligence about Council military movements. Some are even offering to actively help us." Walker spread a holographic map showing Council territory. "If we can coordinate with these allies, we can attack the Council from multiple directions. They won't be able to focus all their forces on Earth." The next few days saw intense diplomatic activity. Earth's leaders spoke with representatives from various alien species, forming a coalition of the oppressed. Each new ally brought valuable information about Council weaknesses. "Their entire defense network relies on quantum communication," Reed explained to the Joint Chiefs. "If we can disrupt it across their territory, their military advantage disappears. Our new allies have given us access codes to key communication hubs." The planning room buzzed with activity as military leaders worked to coordinate the largest multi-species operation in human history. Earth would lead the attack, but their allies would create chaos throughout Council space. "The Council never imagined this," Walker said, watching the preparations. "They thought they were just dealing with one primitive species. Instead, their arrogance has united all their victims against them." A message arrived from one of their new allies. The Council was gathering a massive fleet to crush Earth's resistance. But thanks to their alliance network, Earth knew exactly where and when the fleet would arrive. "They still think they can overwhelm us with brute force," Reed said. "They haven't realized that we've changed the entire game." Walker nodded. "Send word to all our allies. When the Council fleet arrives, Operation Freedom begins. We'll hit them from all sides." Throughout Council space, oppressed species quietly prepared for rebellion. Earth's successful resistance had given them hope. Weapons were stockpiled, ships were readied, and spies moved into position. The Council's leaders, secure in their belief that they faced only one rebellious planet, had no idea that their entire empire was about to erupt in flames. "How long until the Council fleet arrives?" Walker asked. 3 days, Reed replied. "Our allies are in position. Everything is ready. Walker looked at the battle plans one last time. Earth had turned from prey to predator, from victim to liberator. The Council's attempt to conquer humanity had led to their worst nightmare, a coordinated rebellion that threatened their very existence. The real war was about to begin, and this time, Earth wouldn't fight alone. The Council's massive fleet emerged from hyperspace, thousands of warships filling Earth's sky. They expected to find one defiant planet. Instead, they found themselves surrounded. All forces, execute Operation Freedom. Admiral Walker's command echoed across the combined fleet's communication channels. Earth's ships, now joined by vessels from a dozen rebel species, launched their coordinated attack. Commander Stone led the first wave, his squadron flying alongside sleek ships from their new allies. "Remember the plan," he called out. "Hit their command ships first. Don't let them coordinate their defense." Dr. Reed's quantum disruption technology activated, spreading like a virus through the Council's communication network. Their mighty fleet, accustomed to fighting as one unified force, suddenly found itself divided into confused, isolated groups. "Their communications are down," Reed reported from his command center. "They can't coordinate their movements." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Earth's hybrid ships, combining raw power with unprecedented maneuverability, cut through the Council's formations. Their alien allies, finally free to fight their oppressors, attacked with centuries of pent-up rage. The Council fleet commanders, unable to handle so many unexpected threats, made fatal mistakes. Their rigid battle doctrine, designed for overwhelming force against weaker opponents, failed completely against the creative tactics of the human-led alliance. "Look at their formations breaking apart," Stone observed as he led another attack run. "They don't know how to fight when they can't rely on superior numbers." Across Council space, the rebellion spread like wildfire. Oppressed species rose up against their rulers, using plans and weapons provided by Earth. Council military bases found themselves under attack from their own garrison troops. Supply lines were cut, communication centers destroyed. Walker watched the tactical display as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. "The Council is losing control of entire sectors," he announced to Earth's leaders. "Their empire is collapsing from within." The space around Earth became a graveyard of Council ships. Some were destroyed, others disabled, and many surrendered when they realized the tide had turned. The Council's Grand Fleet, meant to crush Earth's resistance, instead became a symbol of their downfall. "Multiple Council command ships are requesting surrender terms," reported the communication officer. "They're saying they can't maintain battle formation without central coordination." Stone led his squadron past a group of surrendered Council vessels. The sight was deeply satisfying. The mighty ships that had once threatened Earth, now powerless and defeated. "We're receiving messages from more potential allies," Reed added. "They've seen the Council fleet's defeat. Everyone who was afraid to resist before is joining our side now." The battle lasted for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. Earth's forces, fighting alongside their alien allies, systematically dismantled the greatest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Human tactical innovation, combined with the determination of formerly oppressed species, proved unstoppable. "The last Council command ship has surrendered," Stone reported. "Earth's orbit is secure." But the fight wasn't over. While the main fleet was engaged at Earth, human-led forces pushed deep into Council space. The rebels seized key military installations, government centers, and communication hubs. The Council's authority crumbled with each passing hour. Walker gathered his commanders for a brief meeting amid the victory celebrations. "This is just the beginning," he reminded them. "We've won the battle for Earth, but now we need to help our allies secure their freedom across the galaxy." Stone looked out at the stars, thinking about how much had changed. Humanity had not only survived the Council's threat, but had become the leader of a galactic revolution. The species that had tried to conquer Earth had instead unleashed something they never expected, a force for freedom that would reshape the galaxy. "Prepare all ships for deep space deployment," Walker ordered. "The Council's core worlds are our next target. We'll keep pushing until every species is free from their control." The Council had started this war expecting a quick victory over one primitive planet. Instead, they had triggered their own destruction and the birth of a new galactic order, one where freedom and cooperation would replace oppression and control. And humanity would lead the way. The Council's capital world, a gleaming planet of towering spires and golden domes, was in chaos. Emergency alarms blared as reports of defeat after defeat flooded in from across their territory. In the Grand Council chamber, the 5 dominant species that had ruled the galaxy for centuries faced their worst nightmare. Their mighty empire was crumbling before their eyes. "How is this possible?" the High Counselor roared, his crystalline form flashing with anger. "How could one primitive world cause all this?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber's massive screens lit up with an incoming transmission. Admiral Walker's face appeared, calm and determined. "This is Earth's final warning," he announced. "Surrender now and face justice for your crimes, or we will take your capital by force." The Council leaders laughed, their arrogance still intact despite recent losses. Their capital world was protected by the strongest defenses in the galaxy. No force had ever breached them. But Earth had one final surprise waiting. Dr. Reed's voice came through their secure channels. Channels they thought impossible to breach. "All defense systems are now under our control. Your shields are down." The Council leaders watched in horror as their supposedly impenetrable planetary defense grid shut down. Above their world, thousands of portals opened as the combined Earth rebel fleet arrived. Commander Stone led the assault, his ships diving through the capital's now defenseless airspace. "All squadrons, proceed with the attack plan. Minimal casualties, maximum impact." Earth's forces had learned well from their earlier battles. Their ships targeted key military and government installations with surgical precision, while rebel forces secured vital infrastructure. In the streets below, oppressed species who had served the Council for generations rose up against their masters. The Council's own security forces, seeing the writing on the wall, began surrendering in droves. "The Council's personal guard has laid down arms," Stone reported. "The path to the Council chamber is clear." Admiral Walker himself led the final assault on the Council chamber. Earth Marines and rebel fighters moved through the golden halls of power, meeting little resistance. They found the Council leaders still in their chamber, their previous arrogance replaced by fear. "How?" the High Counselor asked as Walker entered. "How did you defeat our greatest fleet? How did you turn our own subjects against us?" Walker stepped forward, his expression stern. "You fail to understand a basic truth about humanity. We don't just fight for ourselves. We fight for freedom. When you threatened us, you gave hope to every species you'd oppressed. You created your own worst enemy." The arrest of the Council leaders was broadcast across the galaxy. Species that had lived under their rule for centuries watched as the mighty Council was led away in chains. Dr. Reed arrived at the capital shortly after, his teams already working to dismantle the Council's control systems. Their entire empire was built on controlling information and communication, he explained. "Once we broke that control, it all fell apart." In orbit above the capital, Commander Stone watched the sunrise over the planet that had once been the seat of galactic oppression. His squadron flew victory passes over the city, joined by ships from dozens of newly freed species. "What happens now?" he asked during the post-victory briefing. Walker looked around the Council chamber, now serving as their temporary headquarters. "Now we help build something better. The galaxy needs a new system, one based on freedom and cooperation, not control and fear." Representatives from Earth and their alien allies were already arriving, ready to begin the work of creating a new galactic government. The Council's empire had fallen in a matter of weeks, but building its replacement would take time and effort. "The easy part is over," Walker told his commanders. "Winning a war is simple compared to winning the peace that follows." But as he watched humans and aliens working together to shape a new future, he felt confident. Earth had not only survived its first galactic war, it had emerged as a symbol of freedom and justice. The Council's attempt to subjugate humanity had led to their own destruction and the liberation of countless species. Their mighty empire, built over centuries of oppression, had been undone by the one thing they never understood: the unstoppable power of freedom. 1 year after the Council's fall, the galaxy was a very different place. The former Council capital had been transformed into the headquarters of the new Galactic Alliance, where representatives from all species worked together as equals. Admiral Walker stood at the podium in the newly renovated Great Hall, addressing delegates from over 500 worlds. The chamber that once housed oppressors now served as a forum for cooperation and peace. 1 year ago, we fought for survival, he began. Today, we build a future together. Earth pledges to help maintain freedom and justice throughout the galaxy. Commander Stone, now leading the Alliance's peacekeeping fleet, watched from his seat among the military leaders. The past year had been busy, helping liberated worlds establish their own governments, dismantling the Council's remaining power structures, and ensuring peace in formerly contested regions. The transition hasn't been easy, Dr. Reed reported during the afternoon session. But our communication network has helped unite formerly isolated species. Knowledge and culture now flow freely across the galaxy. The changes were remarkable. Worlds that had been forced to serve the Council now developed their own industries and cultures. Trade routes once controlled by the dominant species were open to all. Scientific knowledge, previously hoarded by the Council, was freely shared. Earth had emerged as a natural leader, not through force, but through example. Humanity's ability to innovate, adapt, and cooperate had earned the respect of species far more technologically advanced. Our greatest strength, Walker told the Assembly, wasn't our weapons or technology. It was our understanding that true power comes from working together, not controlling others. The former Council races, stripped of their empire but not their knowledge, had eventually accepted their new role as equals among many. Some had even become valuable contributors to the Alliance, their centuries of experience helping guide the new government. "Look at what we've accomplished in just 1 year," Stone said as he walked with Walker through the Alliance's shipyards. Ships of all designs and origins worked together, sharing technology and ideas. The Council spent centuries keeping species apart. We've shown how much more we can achieve together. Dr. Reed's team had transformed the Council's surveillance network into a system for sharing knowledge and coordinating emergency response. Every week, we discover new ways to combine different species' technologies. He explained, problems that puzzled individual races for centuries are being solved through cooperation. The Alliance faced challenges, of course. Some worlds struggled with their new freedom. Old rivalries occasionally flared up. But the system they had built was strong enough to handle these problems through diplomacy rather than force. Walker's communicator buzzed with an alert. A new species had been discovered at the galaxy's edge, just developing space travel. Under the old Council, they would have faced a choice between submission or extinction. "Send a diplomatic mission," Walker ordered. "Let's show them how the galaxy works now." The Assembly Hall filled again for the afternoon session. Representatives from hundreds of worlds, former Council members, liberated races, and newly discovered species gathered to discuss the future. Stone watched from his seat as decisions were made through debate and voting, not through force and fear. The Council's rigid hierarchy had been replaced by true democracy on a galactic scale. "Sometimes I can hardly believe how much has changed," Reed said, reviewing data from across Alliance space. "A year ago, we were fighting for Earth's survival. Now we're helping guide the galaxy's future." Walker looked out at the assembled delegates, a rainbow of different species working together for the common good. Earth's fierce retaliation against the Council had led to something far greater than victory in war. It had created a new way of life for countless beings across the galaxy. The Council thought they were superior because they could dominate others, he reflected. We proved that real strength comes from lifting each other up. As the session ended, representatives from Earth and countless other worlds walked together through the halls that once symbolized oppression. The galaxy had changed forever, and at its heart was a simple truth. The species that had tried to conquer humanity had instead unleashed its greatest gift to the galaxy: the power of freedom, cooperation, and hope. The new Galactic Alliance would ensure that no species would ever face the choice between submission and extinction again. This was humanity's greatest victory. The end.